Hello folks, Phil Gallagher of ThrabenU here for another Legacy video. Today's video is sponsored by Moxfield.com and we'll take a look at them after round 1. So Aaron W. sent me a little bit of a strange request. They wanted to see a Pyxis of Pandemonium deck list. This is a card that most of you probably aren't going to know unless you played older modern formats where this was present in a sort of hard control deck, or maybe a hard prison deck is a better way to put it, that combined this with Lantern of Insight and other cards that let you view the top cards of the library to try and lock an opponent out. Essentially, you can tap to have each player exile the top card of their library face down, and you can pay 7 mana to have each player turn face up all the cards they own exiled with this thing, and then put all permanent cards among them onto the battlefield. So, they essentially sent me a donation and said, I want to see Pyxis of Pandemonium in Legacy. You can do it like they did in Modern, or you can design something else. And I'm going to be real with you. I think prison decks are a really hard sell in Legacy. And I say that as someone who tries to force them as frequently as they are anywhere near viable. But I think it's so easy for things to slip through in Legacy, and with such good artifact removal being common in the format, such as Prismatic Ending, Meltdowns, and stuff like that, I just really thought that if I tried to put together a essentially Legacy port of this modern prison deck, that it wasn't going to work at all. And then I had to put my brewer's hat on for quite a while and think, how do I make this reasonable? Because I need a deck that has larger than average sized threats, and I need a deck that has larger than average mana production. And that led me down the very strange rabbit hole that I am currently in. I have slotted this card into a mono red sneak attack deck. And this is because, like, this card has 12 very large, very dumb creatures, and not too many copies of any one of them, so we don't have to worry about the legend rule too much. And this deck also is pretty good at producing mana, with things like Ancient Tomb and Seething Song actually making it somewhat realistic that you can get to 7 mana. Now, here's where I went down the deep end. I said to myself, alright, Pyxis of Pandemonium is objectively not a very good card. How do I make the most of this card? And, you know, there happens to be a really powerful tutor card that searches for a CMC1 artifact that also plays very well with fast mana. And this led me down a very strange rabbit hole, folks. So here we go. Mono red Pyxis of Pandemonium sneak attack. In case you're not familiar with the general strategy, we are hoping to use sneak attack or through the breach to put a giant creature in play and get in an attack or a set of ETB triggers with them. Now, each one of these creatures plays a different role. We're not just maximizing out on the one that we think is the best. We're trying for some variety. So, for example, an Inferno Titan is devastating against a deck like Death and Taxes or Elves that has a large number of small bodies. An Emrakul is great against a control deck that is, just has a bunch of lands in play, and you kind of obliterate them that way. Worldspine Worm is going to be very good against something that can't exile it at instant speed. So there's kind of a lot going on here. I'm not really sure about Archon of Cruelty. Like, this is a hot card in Reanimator where that body sticks around, but the body doesn't necessarily stick around here. So I'm not sure if this is strong enough, but it's a lot of value, and I'm very much willing to try it out. I wanted at least one more Urza Saga target for the deck, so I've opted to put a currency converter in here. This is a card that I haven't been overly impressed with in Legacy, but I have heard very good things from other people who have been messing around with it, so I'm willing to give it another shot. The idea here being that, like, when we draw too much mana or too many wrong sides of the combo, we can use this to kind of loot through things. As far as the sideboard goes, I kind of have two spicy things here. Number one is Maddening Hex, which is a pretty impressive Legacy card. One thing that this deck sometimes struggles to do is deal the last few points of damage, because you often end up doing like 15 with an Emrakul, which isn't lethal. A lot of times if your opponent is playing a fetch land deck, that might leave them at like 3 life or something like that, 2 life. but they're not technically dead. So I just wanted a little something else to help close that gap while also being a hate piece versus other combo decks. Because in order to fit in my, well, cute shit into this deck list, I did move some of the hate pieces to the sideboard, so I wanted to kind of make up with that in the post-sideboard games. Another thing that I did in order to fit in the Urza Saga, I had to trim some number of City of Traders, because you can only have so many colorless sources in your red deck. So I've included a couple copies of Chrome Mox in the sideboard that can help me cast the red pips of Maddening Hex a little bit earlier, as well as fuel the Trinispheres and Chalice of the Voids and all of that stuff. All right, with that being said, let's hop into this league. It'll probably be fun. I don't know if it'll be good. I, in fact, think it probably won't, but, like, we are going to make a good, honest effort at making Pyxis of Pandemonium put at least one permanent into play, even if it's a land. Anyway, if you're new here, please consider subscribing, and if you're a regular, throw me a like before the video begins. That's the easiest way to support my content for free. Let's sneak attack. Yeah, we can keep this hand. This hand will be okay, I guess. Yeah, fine. We can maybe make this hand work. Oh, buddy, this one's good. So, this is something I talked about in a tutoring session with someone recently. Urza Saga is a really great card, but sometimes you have to decide whether Urza Saga is the plan A or, like, the plan B. So, like, with this hand, I very much could start by just playing Urza Saga on turn 2, but I'm pretty sure Urza Saga is the thing that I do if Emrakul doesn't just obliterate my opponent. Like, if I play Urza Saga out next turn, and then I decide I want to sneak attack Emrakul, like, I lose a lot of value out of my Urza Saga by missing a token. Alright. We're on an Ancient Tomb Mirror. Fable of the Mirror Breaker. That's not that big of a deal. So, I would like to get through this game without showing my opponent Urza Saga if possible, because I don't want them to have Blood Moons in post sideboard, so I don't want to show this to my opponent. I think I'm interested in playing Sneak Attack this turn using my Spirit Guide. The reason I want to do this is if my opponent has, you know, a Wasteland type card, a Blood Moon type card that makes this not produce 2 mana, I can't actually... Well, I can't as easily do the things that I want to do in the future. So I think I'm good on this. This also allows me to play Urza Saga next turn. So, like, I sneak attack my opponent, I junk all of their permanents, deal 15 damage to them, which is super relevant given that they have Ancient Tomb, and then I'll use Urza Saga to finish the game. Ooh, that's a nice mountain. I like that one. Okay. Your treasure token is A-okay with me. I'll take 2. I'm down to 14. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Fantastic. I will go ahead and activate my sneak attack. Hey, I'm a fan, BTW. Sorry, fan. Are you a fan of Emrakul too? This is great. I'm gonna have a lot of fun this league if the matches keep going like this. Oh, my opponent is also a fan of Emrakul. What if they Emrakul'd me in response? Let's see things on go. Okay. And this is a scenario where my opponent isn't actually dead, right? They're at 3, but they're far enough behind that they're willing to concede. Now, my opponent does miss out on a very critical piece of information, but I agree that they are dead. Like, they have lost this game, but if they wouldn't have conceded, they would have seen my Urza Saga. Okay, so all these, like, Trinisphere Chalice type cards are not going to be fantastic. I think I'm interested in Maddening Hex for a little bit of damage, and I think I'm interested in Chrome Mox to go faster. But that still leaves me a little short on playables. I know that I won game 1 very handily, but I think my opponent is probably favored in this matchup. My opponent is probably much lower to the ground than I am. 1 Trinisphere, 1 Chalice to put on 0. I don't like my in-out numbers here. Like, I'm straight up considering playing 1 Leyline of the Void because it's something that I could imprint under Chrome Mox. Because, like, I just don't think these other cards are particularly good here. Yeah, I'm gonna do that. I don't think Trinisphere is good. My opponent's lower to the ground than I am, and I don't want to make my Grizzlebrand worse in this matchup in particular. I'm gonna play one Leyline as a card that I can imprint under Chrome Mox. That is something I've never done before. I'm a genius. Okay, do I keep this hand? I have 2 mana on turn 1. I have 3 mana on turn 2. This hand is actually very slow despite having a piece of acceleration. I don't have, like, a Shadow Spear to get. How do I feel about playing an Urza Saga game? Just turn 1, Chrome Mox, Leyline of the Void, Urza Saga. Make a 2/2, then 2 3/3s, then 2 4/4s with Currency Converter. Then I have Inferno Titan in the mid game. I think I'll keep this. It's going to be a little awkward versus Fury. I am not going to do any opening game actions. Welcome to the plays that you make after having 10,000 hours of legacy experience and doing all sorts of crazy weird shit. Alright. That is not all that threatening as a start. Like, that's good, but not the end of the world. Okay. Have I gone off of the Urza Saga plan now? I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 mana on turn 3 as of right now. I might end up just hardcasting this Inferno Titan, honestly. My opponent's basically all in on Bone Crusher Giant, so as long as I don't lose to that, I'm fine. Yeah, I think I'm going to plan on hardcasting the Inferno Titan in a lot of worlds. And let's get weird. I will absolutely take 4 damage here. And we'll see if my opponent has a follow-up threat. Another Bone Crusher Giant. Certainly not bad. Is this spell or ability? Target of a spell. No matter what, I'm doing it like this. I take a lot of damage here. So this is going to be 8 damage. I go to 8. But in theory, I have the board stabilized after this. A third Bone Crusher Giant? Oh, it's a dead. Sure. That's very good here. Alright. I might need to just play Sneak Attack here. I can play Sneak Attack, put in Inferno Titan, block one of these, kill the other one, and kind of stabilize the board. Or I can make, what will this be? A 1, 2, 3, or I can make 1 4/4. I can make 1 4/4 getting a Lotus Petal and cast Inferno Titan next turn. That's probably better. It's worse if my opponent has Fury specifically. Alright. There's a 2/2. Oh, actually, is Chrome Mox better? Chrome Mox is probably better. I don't need the Through the Breach, I don't think. Alright, so Chrome Mox, imprint Through the Breach, play Mountain, play Pyxis. I've got a 4/4. I guess there's also another copy of Dead Gone. That is a thing that can occur. I go to 4. Alright. I will start doing this thing. I don't expect to, like, use that. Oh. 1, 2, 3, 4. This is probably better, right? Yeah, this is better. Puts me to 2, which is a very scary number. I'll activate Sneak Attack. Put in an Archon of Cruelty. Okay, cool. I gain life here, which puts me out of range of the burn spells. Oh. So this is really 9 damage. This is at least 9 damage. Yeah. This is lethal. Heck yeah. There's Inferno Titan. Then 3 damage at face. Holy cow. We did it, folks. 3 damage at face plus Archon of Cruelty trigger. Absolutely disgusting. Wow. GG's. Today's video is sponsored by Moxfield.com. Moxfield is a deck building website for Magic the Gathering, and they have a ton of functionality just beyond building decks. So, for example, let's say you're making a whole bunch of changes to your deck list while you're at work and you want to goldfish your deck over your lunch hour, you can do so via Moxfield. You can tap your lands, you can play your cards, draw, even view your entire library if you need to. So please consider checking out this website. They support my content. All right. I will be keeping my opening hand. It's definitely got I don't know about you, but I'm feeling 22 vibes to it. Unless I suspect I'm playing against a Dazed deck, this is probably just jam turn 2 sneak attack. The unfortunate thing about this hand is it doesn't really have a card that I can just play on turn 1 to kind of like be the force of will bait spell for this sneak attack. So I don't think this hand is a mulligan because it just literally kills the opponent on turn 3 if things go the way that I want. But like I very much can just lose to a single counter spell with this hand. Okay. Oh no. Oh no. Oh no. Oh no. Oh. I have ley lines. Yes, of course I have ley lines, because I did the Giga Brain ley line play last round. My opponent can potentially just like reanimate my Grizzlebrand here. And if they don't reanimate my Grizzlebrand, they just take my sneak attack and I will feel naked. They took my spirit guide? Wild. I mean, I don't think it matters because I think my opponent just like does their whole reanimation thing here. But yeah. Oh, I see. Exhume is their enabler. That makes more sense. Although honestly, I would have just taken the sneak attack if they were planning on exhuming, right? Yeah. Okay. Sure. That works too. Yeah. If well, they might not have had that at the time. I think sneak attack is the first card that you take. There is basically what I'm getting at. And I expect that this game is over. That's kind of how game 1 versus Reanimator goes, right? I don't think there's any singular card that I can draw that really changes this game. All right, Grief the Third. Oh, this will take my Grizzlebrand, I assume. Yep. Okay, it's just a looting. Well, I guess air quotes just. There's an Archon in there now. I guess Exhume is off. That's the good news. Okay, it is an animate dead. At this point, I am willing to concede. The first creature was beatable in some Fringe worlds. The second one just wasn't. The good news is I feel pretty well prepared for this. I get to board in a pretty massive pile of cards. Like, I can board in 12 cards here if I'd like. This matchup is fast enough, and my opponent has large enough things where there's no world where I'm activating Pyxis of Pandemonium. And since Grafdigger's Cage is also going to come in, I don't really think I need that. 12 cards, though. There's worlds where I don't board in Maddening Hex, though. So that's a thing. One thing that really scares me about this matchup is that Leyline of the Void is not symmetrical, right? So my opponent can just use a discard spell on me and reanimate one of my fatties. That's kind of a thing that scares me. I might have just, like, too many cards for this matchup. There are worlds where I can consider boarding out these 8 cards, but that would only leave me with 4 sneak attack through the breach targets. Like, it's possible I can just win this game with Urza Saga most of the time after locking my opponent out, but I think I lose too much by removing my density. I'm really not sure how to sideboard here. I'm going to go down some Inferno Titans. I'm going to go down some Through the Breach. Maybe all the Through the Breach? Like, it's... I don't know. This gets me to 60. I can kill my opponent with a potato if I stop them from going off. I guess that's kind of where I'm at. This is a Leyline of the Void opener that cannot cast this Trinisphere. That's my follow-up spell. I think this one's too sketchy. I'm going to mulligan, looking for something better. This is a turn 1 Trinisphere, but not in a way that's really meaningful. I will go to 5 here. Turn 1, Chalice on 1. Turn 2, Chalice on 2 for Trinisphere. or sorry, for Serenity. I believe that is a win in most worlds. I'm gonna get rid of Trinisphere and one sneak attack here. Alright, very, very awkward hand here. Like, I'm going to lose my City of Traders when I finally do play a red land. I'm going to deal a decent amount of damage to myself. There's worlds. Oh, okay, my opponent's going straight for hard discard here. That's fine. So I will absolutely just play Chalice on 2. This locks my opponent out from most things that are in their deck. If they're on an Abrupt Decay build, they can get rid of one of these. Otherwise, it's basically hard cast Grief as the only way that they can win the game, I think. Yeah, land pass, that's fine. On the list of plays that look really weird, this is one of them. I am going to just put my Simian Spirit Guide into play rather than my sneak attack, because this starts dealing damage to my opponent, and sneak attack does not currently do any damage. Like, I know that's super weird, but I am looking to kill. That's awkward. I am looking to kill my opponent right now, and sneak attack requires me to draw one of, like, I don't know, like 10 cards in my deck, whereas Simian Spirit Guide can just start going. Oh, that's fantastic. Oh, I will bash in for 2. Opponent drops to 16, and then I can play Urza Saga into sneak attack. And the Urza Saga token will kill my opponent pretty quickly. Like, Simian Spirit Guide is starting to do some work. We'll see if my opponent has a Grief here. It seems like the answer is yes. I can't think of anything else at 4 mana that they would be playing here. Yeah, that's fine. You can take the Grafdigger's Cage. Like, I have that avenue of attack covered. Sure. Alright, Chalice is on 0 and 1, so playing a Lotus Petal is fine. 1, 2, 3, 4, then 5, 5, then 6, 6. Yeah, I'm still the beat down here. This is fine, even with taking some Ancient Tomb damage. Yeah, that's fine. An opponent recognizes that I am the beatdown. And I'm both the beatdown and I have a combo finish that my opponent has to worry about. I feel like this league has been very strange thus far. Not necessarily bad, just very strange. I'll get another Lotus Petal, I guess. Play out a land. This is 6 damage into lethal damage. Opponent would need something crazy that's not normally played, like a Meltdown to get through this. They're not anywhere close to hardcasting the larger things like Grizzlebrand. Alright, weird game. I'm still really not sure on Maddening Hex. Like, I like it in theory, but I'm already having trouble with, like, number of slots, so I think I'm just gonna whack the submit button here. Okay, this opening hand doesn't really excite me. Like, I have 2 fatties, no way to get them into play, and just leading on Urza Saga is not good enough to win the game here. I'm gonna keep this. I think I lose to Serenity, but I think I have to accept that here. What I like about this hand is I have a Leyline with no fatty in hand for my opponent to reanimate. I'm gonna have a really difficult decision on turn 1 of whether or not I play out my Lotus Petal. Like, if I play out Lotus Petal and my opponent plays Serenity, I lose this card, but if I keep it in hand and it gets discarded, then I can't use it to play Trinisphere. Alright. My opponent will probably make my decision for me. Now, Serenity destroys all artifacts and enchantments, which is going to make this hand awkward, because in a lot of worlds, I would like to play Urza Saga this turn to start digging for Grafdigger's Cage immediately, but if my opponent just plays Serenity on turn 2, like, that's such a bad play for me to make. So I think given that, like, Serenity is the card that I'm very scared of right now, I just kind of accept that I don't get to dig for my secondary piece of hate. It seems like my opponent would... Oh, wow. I guess they just kept a hand that could turn 1, hoping I didn't have a Leyline, rather than keep a hand that has Serenity to beat the things that I would play that would beat them. Yeah, they kept a turbo hand. Oh, hell yeah. I think at this point I accept that if they have land drop and Serenity right now, it's very good against me. And I otherwise take the thing that will most certainly beat them. Serenity being a 3-for-1 is brutal here. But in those other worlds where my opponent has to, like, dig towards a Serenity, this is really strong. Okay, there's another land drop from my opponent. But no play. Right, fantastic. I won't be casting that Lotus Petal because of my Trinisphere. And now I hope that Urza Saga can go most or all of the way. Seeing some end of turn movement. So there's the Scrub land, which is hoping to get Serenity. Is this just deck thinning? It is just deck thinning. They ripped the Serenity. Which is very awkward for me, because like now my Urza Saga tokens are going to just get destroyed. As are like the ley lines and the Trinispheres. I also can't make my land drop this turn. And I can't fetch Grafdigger's Cage here because of Serenity. I also don't get good Urza Saga value here. Alright. I'm going to opt not for the 1 extra point of damage here. I'm going to pull a Lotus Petal out of my deck. Really feel like I need that. I am going to put a creature into play and deal 3 points of damage versus my opponent instead of the 4 that I could have gotten. Oh, that Serenity's brutal. Like, I knew it would be. But, hopefully I can... I've got to rip well. That's a Grizzlebrand Yard. That's very bad for me. Okay, there is a Grief. That takes my Lotus Petal. And now, like, is the last card in your hand a reanimation spell? You got rid of an Exhume earlier. Alright. They reanimate on a Grizzlebrand. They can't draw 7 immediately. I think Urza's Saga wins a higher portion of the time than Mountain does. But I think I've lost this game. This is just, like, not a good spot for me. If I take 7, my opponent gains 7. They can draw 7. And if they put another creature in play, I don't think I can possibly, like, Urza Saga aggro them out. I probably can't anyway. It also may be that they're not supposed to draw 7. Not sure. Like, they might just, like, not lose if they just keep their life total high enough that I can't get them in one go. Yeah, Iona on red is, pretty decent. I'll go ahead and concede to that. Alright, unfortunate. Like, opponent ripped the Serenity that I knew would beat me, and I tried to play around it to the best of my ability, but I really couldn't. GG's. Alright, round 3. This hand can make a turn 1 Chalice of the Void, but then does nothing ever. So I'm just going to go ahead and mulligan this one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 mana. Or Through the Breach. Or keep 4 mana and play Pyxis of Pandemonium on turn 1, but be pretty far away from activating it. Is it worth going to 5, or is this a keep? It's probably worth going to 5. The 5-card hand is very good. I love your channel, man. You're in a video. Good luck. I'm going to keep this. 1 Chalice of the Void goes away, and I think I'm just going to keep both Urza Sagas and pitch the Simian Spirit Guide and just, like, play one of those kind of all-in Urza Saga games. Uh-huh. Oh, please don't Blood Moon me. My poor heart cannot take it. Oh, opponent says so much pressure for a new brew. I'm on something a little strange myself, friend. Do I play a Chalice on 1 versus Mountain Pass when my opponent has told me they are on a brew? I think I take the turn off to do this. I think that's worth it. I think I'm also going to play Chalice of the Void on 0. I don't have that many 0-cost artifacts remaining in my deck, and if my opponent is on some, like, Stormy nonsense, this maybe helps. If they're on a, like, Ancient Tomb deck, like, I have wasted 2 cards, and they're just going to make my Urza Sagas bigger later, but there's bad lands. You doing Shouldered nonsense? That's a stomp directly to my face. Yeah, I wonder what they're doing. I mean, My plays don't change regardless. Like, I'm all in on Urza Saga, and I'm mostly hoping that I don't eat a Blood Moon. Because holy shit, it is bad if I eat a Blood Moon. Black, red, some... Fuck! Uh-huh. Yeah. 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 Ah. Ah. Okay. Okay. This is fine. Narrator's voice. This was not fine. Yeah, Johnny, your brew is going to decimate me, friend. And it's not gonna be close. I think I'm probably gonna end up in a similar territory to last round, where I might board in a single ley line. Through the Breach, not good right now, because if I top deck a creature, Urza Saga is going directly to my graveyard. This Lilia is going to absolutely just slap me in the face. I think I need to draw Sneak Attack into Emrakul if I were to guess what my out is here. Or no, that's not actually an out, right? Because like Chandra plussing twice in a row is 4 damage. Lilia is 5 next turn, not 4. Oh, mana? Oh, it's another stomp. Yeah, so I am deterministically dead to Chandra plus Lilia. Can't even cast that effectively. I'm gonna see what card my opponent exiles off their 2 triggers here. I haven't seen the black side of their deck yet, so I would like to see what that is before I die, if possible. Oops, all Bone Crushers. All right, so I will F6 here. I am dead to the Chandra plus, which my opponent should not do, right? They should just stomp me. Oh, this is cute. My opponent just reveal Bloodstain Mire. Okay, cool. All right. So my Chalices and Trinispheres are bad again. So those are coming out. That gets me Maddening Hex. That gets me Chrome Mox. This time around, I can play Pithing Needle, though, because my opponent has Chandra Torch of Defiance, so I might not need to bring in a Leyline. Okay, I don't think I'm going to sideboard anything else here. I think this time around I could keep the Pyxis of Pandemonium in the deck. Like, my opponent has a bunch of permanents in the deck, but I think mine are just ultimately scarier. What turn do I cast Inferno Titan? 1, 2, 3... Just turn 2 Inferno Titan. 2, 4, 5, 6. Alright. Aaron, I don't know if we're ever going to activate a Pyxis of Pandemonium for that 7 mana, because we just keep having these, like, matchups where everything is just so incredibly low to the ground with these, like, Reanimator and Stompy matchups, where, like, the game's not dragging on for a billion rounds like it might versus a control deck. But we're going to try. Alright, there is a Badlands. Badlands pass. I'm going to put these, like, Lotus Petal type cards in play. 2, 4, 5, 6, 7. Not 8. 7. I believe I do just cast the Inferno Titan this turn, rather than trying to wait one more turn and see what happens. Trigger. 3 to the dome. We have officially gotten the ouch in chat. Now, Inferno Titan attacking will kill most creatures that my opponent could play. Or my opponent could just, like, straight up fucking Doomblade me right now. Like, I don't know what's going on over there. I have not seen what the black cards are yet. An unlicensed hearse. That is a-okay with me. You may have that. Brewing that is going to be exceptionally difficult, and I don't think there's going to be too much food here. A Spirit Guide. Thinking about whether or not I want to cast that. It's worth more than pumping it into a lot of my other spells, so I probably will. So I'm gonna do 3 at the dome here, and I think the tiebreaker for me casting Simian Spirit Guide here is actually just going to be Sudden Edict. Like, that is a card that my opponent reasonably could have the black mana for, and if I can play around that, It's real cool. And then next turn, my Inferno Titan represents lethal by itself. I've got protection from an Edict. We're still playing Magic. Okay, so opponent's not technically dead here. This is cute. So they can use Bone Crusher Giant to crew Unlicensed Hearse, and then I can't actually... Okay. Yeah, so you weren't dead, so you use Bone Crusher Giant to crew this in response to this trigger, and then you can chump block the Inferno Titan, take 2 from Spirit Guide. Like, you're on a losing board, but you're not technically dead. I don't know if they have, like, Ensnaring Bridges or something like that. That can be an out, though. Probably not, given how aggressive their deck is. Their deck does have really good Lilia synergies, though, with, like, the Unlicensed Hearse and Chandra and whatnot. Seems like decent deck building. Again, still very uncertain about what the black is doing, though. Maddening Hex doesn't feel super great for me in this matchup, but I don't think any of my other stuff is much better. If I draw a red card, or I guess a colored card, I can turn 1 through the Breach, Grizzlebrand, draw 7. 1, 2, 3, or no, it'd still be turn 2, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. This is a turn 2 Grizzlebrand. That probably means that this is a keep. I don't know how many, like, Ancient Tomb acceleration type cards my opponent is going to have. Currency Converter. My turn 1 play is probably just Pyxis of Pandemonium. I don't think I want to Chromox right now. I don't think I've seen an Ancient Tomb yet. I don't remember for sure. Did I see one in game 1? No, I don't think so. Alright, let's get Pyxis of Pandemonium going. Although Currency Converter Grizzlebrand was real cute, actually. So maybe I was making a mistake there. In my language, your username means give me the magic. What language? I'll pass the turn here. Portuguese. Cool. Oh, like me dea. Oh, okay, I see it. Yeah. In Latin, it's do dare, spelled D-O or D-A-R-E. All right, there is an unlicensed hearse. This is awkward for me now, right? I have 1, 2, 3, and then I missed on a colored card to do my cool stuff on turn 2. Oh shit, I forgot to activate Pyxis of Pandemonium. I'm distracted by this conversation. I don't think I play Chromox here. I will play Currency Converter. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Maybe I go ahead and Chromox Spirit Guide this turn so that I can activate Currency Converter. I won't, like, really junk any of these cards here in most circumstances. Opponent's hand was kind of slow. Kind of wonder what they're working with over there. I mean, who am I to talk, right? Like, I kept a hand that was 1 mana short from doing a lot of the things that I wanted to do. Alright. So let's activate my Pyxis. Let's do this thing. Oh, actually, this is kind of awkward versus Unlicensed Hearse, isn't it? Oh, wait, this is part of a single ability. No, it's not. Yeah, so my opponent could have removed that. I am very happy to draw another Through the Breach, I think. Okay. I think I'm happy enough casting one of these now. I think that's fine. Alright, there's a Grizzlebrand. We'll do a draw 7 immediately. I'll play out a Lotus Petal. I think I'm fine drawing 7 one more time. Because there's some worlds where I get a kill this turn if I draw enough mana. Yeah. Okay. This is what I'm talking about. So this is Seething Song. Red, red, red. I'll Seething Song again. That's 7 total mana. So this is just, what, 6, 12, 19 plus Pump will be lethal. There's Sneak Attack. Activate. Inferno Titan. Target you for 3. And then do some Fire Breathing to make sure that I get lethal. So this is 15 damage showing, plus the Inferno Titan trigger. We did not get to learn what the black was for, unfortunately. Oh, oh no. So my opponent said missed 1 mana to drop Ensnaring Bridge, which I would have had a very hard time beating. Alright, opponent is at -1. GG's. I now know why my opponent kept the hand, despite it looking a little slow on paper. Okay, round 4, bit of a weird hand here. I'm on the draw. So on turn 2, I have 1, 2, 3, 5 mana, which is Through the Breach, Inferno Titan, which is 12 damage. That is not lethal. So more realistically, this hand is probably turn 1 Chalice into wait a little while. I think that's acceptable on the draw. I'm not, like, super excited about it. I'm scared. More Reanimator? Maybe Oops All Spells, actually. Okay, we are not going to get to do Pyxis of Pandemonium anything in this league. We have just played against 4 fast decks in a row. Yep. Alright. So there's 3 Narcomoebas. There's the Thassa's Oracle. There's the Dread Return. There's the Dread Return. Alright, I will concede there. You got it. Okay, so this is going to be a hand that is all about the hate cards here. I'm going to board in 13 cards. So this slower stuff comes out for sure. And then I will go down on some number of win conditions. Like, I can kill my opponent at any speed if they are locked out of the game. I think what I did before was these. That will still leave me at 63. Probably board Archons out. Like, the World's Bind Worms and Grizzlebrands are more attractive. Like, this kills over 2 turns. This obliterates any mana my opponent has played out. This gives me more draws at hate pieces. I can probably go down a Seething Song. This doesn't do anything on turn 1, and doing something on turn 1 is what matters. So I'll mulligan here. Well, I mean, makes a very fast Emrakul, but that doesn't stop my opponent from winning the game. Do I like this as a 5-card hand? As a 5-card hand, it probably gets rid of these 2 and keeps this. It's not exciting. I think I need to look at an Oops sideboard here. I'm probably looking at 4 Force of Vigor as the things that matter. I don't know that this one's good enough. I think I'm willing to go deeper. This is a 4-card hand that is approximately as good as the last hand. Just keeps this and plays a Chalice on turn 1. Probably on 0 for, like, Artifact, Mana, and Summoner's Pact. Unexciting, but I think given how deep I have already mulliganed, this is where I'm at. I lead on Ancient Tomb, Chalice on 0, and there's a lot of worlds where I just play out a Simian Spirit Guide as a 2/2 beater, but that's, like, super not exciting. And I can still just, like, lose through Chalice on 0 pretty easily. Yeah, sure, that's fine. Alright. I do not like my odds in this game. I think this game, like, massively, massively favors my opponent at this point. Yeah. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, so my opponent just gets it this turn, I believe. But, like, it's one more click to see if all their cards are in the right zone and they can actually kill me. So that is what it is. There's the Narcomoebas. I see a Thassa's Oracle. And I see a Dread Return. So we are dead to that in short order. GG's. Okay, looking at chat here, my opponent chooses not to play first, which probably means that they are playing Manaless Dredge. So, if my opponent is playing Manaless Dredge, then, like, these Chalice of the Voids don't really matter, and instead I want to mulligan to a hand that actually has a chance at killing my opponent. I don't have any Graveyard Hate in game 1. I'm going to mulligan this hand, given the information that I have here. This hand does nothing. We'll mulligan this one as well. This is a 5-card hand. It is a 5-card hand that pitches 2 sneak attacks, and Probably plays Urza Saga on turn 1 into Trinisphere on turn 2. And then I try to race my opponent with Urza Saga tokens, with Sneak Attack being the backup plan. It probably doesn't get better than this. I will keep this. Opponent says, love my videos. Thanks. You're in one. Maybe I have inspired someone to go to the dark side and play Manaless Dredge. You might recognize the deck. I sure did. I'm responsible for this. Alright, yeah, there's a Stinkweed Imp. We are dredging. Alright. So, actually, do I even want to play the Trinisphere? Is it just better for me to Urza Saga? Because I played the Urza Saga on turn 1. Yeah, it's probably better for me to go token. There's very few spells that my opponent will actually cast. Yeah, we are the beatdown. I can be lazy about timing here. My opponent is not going to have game 1 things that really matter. I like my post-sideboard matchup versus this deck, I think. Alright. Let's go. Make a token. Oh, I don't have the Chrome boxes in game 1. I take Pyxis? I probably take Pyxis here, oddly. If I take Lotus Petal and draw Fatty, though, that could be relevant. I'll take the Lotus Petal. So I will go Ancient Tomb here. Trinisphere, exiling Spirit Guide. And bash with a 4/4. So opponent will not be able to cast this Dread Return that's in their graveyard now. That's the good news for me. Those blockers are bad news for me. Those more other blockers are bad news for me. Bridge from below, also not great for me. No, Hogak requires black or green mana. Narcomoeba can't pay for that. Well, Narcomoeba can't pay for the colored symbols that matter. Hogak has Convoke and Delve. And now my opponent gets a prized Amalgam. Alright. I do not need to play Sneak Attack out this turn, I don't think. I am unfortunately on the defensive. My opponent has Bridge from below, so like my attacks aren't good anymore. Probably can't easily kill one of my own creatures or getting rid of Bridge from below. So my opponent gets a Hogak this turn, I think, in most worlds. I think I'm pretty likely to lose game 1 here. Not 100%, but life's not looking good. And now my opponent has a Phantasmagorian, so they can discard some of the stuff that's stuck in their hand. And I also have to start worrying about, like, instant speed Bridge from belows going into the graveyard and changing combat math. So, you know, that's a thing. Uh-huh. Yeah, life's awful here. My blocks are bad. My opponent turns anything I block into 2 zombies. The Icarids are dying anyway, like 100% of the time. So I guess this is fine. My opponent also, like, very awkwardly is at 16, not 15, and that 1 point of life, like, definitely matters. Okay. That's a Grizzlebrand. That's a Grizzlebrand. Okay. I think I can get cute here now. Well, I could have gotten cute last turn and discarding Lotus Petal, or, like, sacrificing Lotus Petal to trade with some creatures. So, like, I made my opponent's Bridge from Below's worse, but if I did that, I couldn't, like, sneak attack in a relevant creature. Okay, we have a Phantasmagorian activation. And a second one. That's fine. So my question here is, like, can I survive this, like, Icarid storm? Oh, right. Sorry, quick correction. I don't believe my opponent could have cast Hogak through Trinisphere. I'd have to double check that, because they changed how this work. So I guess there's worlds where they could have if they had enough creatures. Alright. So if I block 3 of these things, I will take 2, 4, 6, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 damage, which I actually can live through, but barely. Alright. There's a Grizzlebrand. My opponent just said what in the chat? Okay. So, and like block you is 9 plus 8, 17, 18, 19, 20. Do I think I have to block another 3, right? 6, 9, plus 8. Did I think I'm still dead? I think I mapped that wrong before. Oh no, I am at 1. I did math that right. I unfortunately can't draw any cards here. I am on outs to actually win the game. I can draw the Black Archon and then draw a second flying creature. Alright, so the bridge from below triggers have cleared. I do unfortunately lose the Grizzlebrand at end of turn. That's fine. Art of the cards, Yu-Gi-Oh! Let's go. Give me a Spirit Guide. That is not gonna do it. But we tried. Okay. So in good news, I have a decent number of things that matter here. And Urza Saga for Grafdigger's Cage is really good. I'll probably play my Chromoxes to accelerate. Trinisphere is not exactly exciting. Like, it's not the worst. Not excited about it. I may play it. Not super excited about Maddening Hex. Pithing Needle for Phantasmagorian is okay. We'll probably end up playing that. Like, it's not good here. I am at my 5th fast match in a row where those cards are just getting boarded out. Chalice of the Void, not exactly looking good here either. If I start with these, this is 61. Inferno Titan's not exactly bananas here. How do I feel about Trinisphere versus, like, some copies of Inferno Titan? I guess Trinisphere makes Force of Vigor worse, which is probably enough to make it worth boarding in. And maybe I junk some number of Through the Breach, some number of Inferno Titan. How many creatures does this leave me with? Well, big fat creatures. So that would leave me with 9 big fat creatures, 7 enablers, plus Seething Songs. I don't think I like that ratio. I think I like this ratio better. I don't know, I'm not, like, super excited about Through the Breach for this matchup specifically. Alright, so little thing for this matchup. Since my opponent wants to hard discard a card, I do not want to play first. I want to be on the draw. It is like having an extra card. I will mulligan this hand. It has a turn 3 Grafdigger's Cage, but a Leyline hand is probably better. How is this Leyline hand? This Leyline hand needs to draw mana. If it draws mana, I get to 5. I Through the Breach, Worldspine Worm. That kills in 2 turns pretty reliably. This is awkward. I believe I still keep it, though. Alright. There's my Leyline. My opponent is on the play. They are not going to do anything with their first turn, as we can see here. Chrome Mox is very good. If, and this is a big if my opponent does not have Force of Vigor in their hand right now, they cannot win this game. So I am going to attempt this. I am fine getting rid of the Worldspine Worm, I think. Alright. So this is the moment of truth where I see if they had Force of Vigor in their opener. They did not. I don't think they can win at all here. I think that's no outs to this. Yep, there we go. Now, the thing about Manaless Dredge is that, like, you can't really mulligan like you can with Reanimator. So when you're playing something like Reanimator, you can mulligan to a Serenity if you know your opponent is going to mulligan to a Leyline. But with this deck, you can't really do that because you need to hard discard on your first turn. I do not believe I am going to make any adjustments to my sideboarding here. I think I'm happy enough with this, and I don't think my opponent casts enough spells that I want to be considering, like, Maddening Hex or anything. I mean, I'll keep it. It's going to be, like, do you have Force of Vigor or not, as far as, like, the hand goes. And, like, I don't have good follow-up immediately. Okay. There is the Force of Vigor. So my opponent's not dead. However, Like, they are not discarding immediately, which is a problem. So we'll kind of see which one of us ultimately ends up in a better position. My Through the Breach is a little bit scary. I think I do play the Trinisphere here. There is one bad thing. If I were to draw one of my 4 Lotus Petals or one of my 2 Chrome Mox, I can't use that mana to Through the Breach, but this stops like a future Force of Vigor or equivalent from happening, so I think it's okay. There is a Spirit Guide. How do I want to do this? When do I want to do this? Unless my opponent dredges into, like, Narcomoeba specifically, I think I'm okay with Grizzlebrand on my opponent's end step and then, like, draw 14-ish there. I think that's my plan. It's awkward if they hit a Narcomoeba, though. Okay, that's fine. So, in case you don't know why I'm doing this, this is sacrifice that creature at the beginning of the next end step. So, if you do it within an end step, you don't actually end up sacrificing a creature until, like, the next end step. I'll just go ahead and put a Grizzlebrand into play. Opponent has discarded a Bridge from Below, and now I get to see if I can kill my opponent. That is Sneak Attack Emrakul plus Grizzlebrand. That is a kill. Fantastic. Do I need a Seething Song for any reason? So this is currently 5 mana, which is just Sneak Attack Emrakul activate. Can make it 6-7 mana because of Trinisphere. That doesn't actually matter, though. Alright, there's Sneak Attack. Actually, I guess the Seething Song mattered, because I could have put in another creature. This can also just be Worldspine Worm, too. It kills either way. Let's kill with a Worldspine Worm. Yeah, but I should have played Seething Song, because I could have put in more creatures for the lulz. Alright, so we get a hard-fought 3-2 in a league that didn't particularly take a long time. We played 5 very fast matchups here. Overall thoughts on the deck list. I think I have a very warped view of this deck list because of the league that we just played. Like, that was, I think, 3 graveyard decks and 2, like, Ancient Tomb decks that went pretty fast. So, like, the cards that were in the deck to grind long-term value weren't particularly good because the games were basically won and lost on either a quick combo finish or a quick piece of graveyard hate backed up by, like, some other piece of hate. So I can't, in good faith, draw strong conclusions about the deck list as a whole. I will say, like, Urza's Saga making it so that I'm not all in on the whole, like, sneak attack through the breach thing, I think is good. Like, it makes it so that my opponents have to worry about these Urza Saga tokens while also, like, fearing this combo finish. And, like, because you're on a, like, higher than average CMC here, you often want something to do in the early turns, like a Chalice, a Blood Moon in different versions of the deck, a Trinisphere, and the Urza Saga activation gives you something else to do. So while Pyxis of Pandemonium might be a bit of a meme, there might be something to building a mono-red sneak attack deck that looks like this. One thing that I said in the intro was, like, I thought it was going to be very hard to build a Pyxis of Pandemonium deck in Legacy, like, as a prison version. And I think this league shows part of the reason why. Like, the fundamental turn in this league was probably, like, 2 or 3. Like, either turn 2 or turn 3 was, like, the point where most of these matches were decided. So trying to accrue value over time with Pyxis of Pandemonium is, like, probably not going to work. In doing my research for building this deck, it was hard to find people who had messed around with this card outside of the traditional, like, artifact lockout deck. I saw one deck list that tried to dump in a whole bunch of red devotion cards at the same time with things like Perforos as a potential finisher, but those sorts of things require the game to go on for a long time. And the secondary things that I had in this deck list, be they like the hate pieces, the Urza Saga, or like the actual combo finish, those things were killing my opponent before I could tick up Pyxis of Pandemonium. Like, I think I played a turn 1 Pyxis in one game. I forgot to activate it once, admittedly. But I think I would have activated that card twice before the game was just decided. And trying to randomly flip 2 off Pyxis of Pandemonium is probably not going to happen. Yeah, so I apologize to our donor. Like, I built a deck list to do the thing, and like the pairings were such that it was like not viable to do the thing because the matchups were so fast. So I hope this was an interesting deck building lesson, and I hope a couple of our Giga Brain plays made the league worth it to you. Anyway, folks, I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please click the like button on the way out. It helps out a lot. The donation queue is a little light right now, so if you find yourself in the financial position to support me, please consider doing a donation deck list to get one of your own sweet ideas on the channel. Have a great rest of the day. See ya!